Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you today. We are continuing our scouting report, breakdown, and evaluation at every position. Today, we're going to spend time on interior offensive linemen. Now, you're going to hear a term a lot when you talk offensive linemen called position flexibility. And let me explain what I mean by that. Last last year, the Raiders kept 9 linemen, which is a solid number, good number. I have zero issues with that number on their initial 53-man roster. Many teams kept 8 guys. Raiders chose to keep 9 last year. Now, why is that important? Because when you have players that can play a multiplicity of positions, so last year they kept 6 interior linemen and 3 offensive tackles. So let's say this year they only keep 8. They keep 5 interior linemen, 3 tackles because they have some guys that can play both. Then it allows you to have that extra position if you've got another position where you're loaded to keep an extra guy. Position flexibility, worth its weight in gold. Now, I'm going to be very frank. I was a little surprised last year that the Raiders kept 9. And I was a little surprised that they kept 6 on the interior. Now, you may say, why would that surprise you when 3 of the interior positions compared to only 2 tackles? That's 100% germane. But I was just surprised they kept 6 interior offensive linemen. I thought they would have went 5 and 3. So remember, this year I'm still going to project that they're going to keep 8, 5 and 3, but that could change because there's some tackles there that offer some interesting stuff. So we're going to get into all of that, and I look forward to having this discussion with you today. So let's talk about the guys that I think are a lock, and that's Jackson Powers Johnson. He's the Raiders center. That is his position. He has been working tirelessly with Max Crosby, demonstrating his work ethic. I have talked about JPJ ad nauseum. My respect for him as a player, a person. This is a kid that last year when they picked him, I told you they got him much lower than where his value was. He was going to be a starter last year. He was. There is no reason to be a huge believer in JPJ. Now, did he get some penalties last year that he shouldn't have gotten for over aggression? Yes, but rookies make rookie mistakes. I would rather have a guy who's out there being overly aggressive than one that's being passive because you could teach the other. He's extremely athletic, which, you look at him and he's like a bowling ball, but he's extremely athletic. He can get his hands up. So, I mean, in the picture, you got to snap the football, get your ankles forward, hands up, and engage. That's a lot to ask of a 300-pound man. It's a lot, especially when you got big defensive linemen coming at you who are speed guys as well, leaning forward. And you're not leaning forward. You're calling the line, calling blocking, all of it. Super heady player, very intelligent, high football IQ, high toughness, high work ethic on the field. Demon, mean, nasty, plays with an edge. Him and I were talking about it last year. I've shared this with you before, but for the case of our new listeners, I asked him, where's it come from? He goes, I was always the fat kid and I got tired of getting picked on. I can relate. I was the fat kid too. And there is nothing about JPJ, the person, The player, nothing about him not to like. To the best of my knowledge, I've never met his family. If I have, I apologize. But I'll tell you what, I learned everything I need to know about them getting to know their son, and what a heck of a kid. Great kid. And he's just got balance. He's got the guy, you look at him, he's a big, powerful man, a big bowling ball, but he plays with footwork like a ballerina. And I asked him about it last year, and he just kind of downplayed it. And because later in the year, to me, it appeared his footwork had just gotten exceptionally well like that. And I told him, I said, man, watching the film of you now, your footwork just seems to be incredibly well. Is it, I asked him about concentrating on that. I don't remember his footwork being that good at Oregon. And I watched him play a lot. He just overpowered people. So I don't know if his footwork wasn't that good or he didn't need it to be. And when he got to the NFL, Joe Philbin's terrific coaching really molded him. But he's teachable, he's available. This kid is athletic. He is what Chip Kelly craves. And again, position flexibility. He can play either of the guard spots. He's just really, really good. Locked to make this team. Next, Jordan Meredith, a guy the Raiders, hardly paying anything to, and was one of the top guards in the NFL last year. Top guard. This kid is tough. Now, I'm going to say this to you, and I think there are parts of my personality that are quirky. Okay. And I've always thought quirkiness comes from somebody who is not trying to be who they're not. They're just an original. Okay. So I mean this with the utmost of respect because everyone knows how much I like Jordan. He's quirky. He doesn't try to be who he's not. He's very comfortable in his own skin. His teammates really like him, but he doesn't try to be everybody's buddy. All right. If Jordan Meredith isn't your kind of guy, great. He doesn't care. I like that about him. Last year, playing through the roof. And I walked over to him and said, hey, you got a minute for an interview? And he goes, really? I said, come on, Jordan. We both know how well you're playing. He goes, yeah, I'm just surprised you wanted to interview me. Just that kid. No, nothing assumptive about his personality. I mean, obviously, he's a bulk of a human being. But if you saw him out in public, you wouldn't think, oh, that's a Raider. Because there's just nothing assuming. And that's really the personality of pretty much all the offensive linemen. They're like hockey players. I say that all the time. People laugh. It is rare to find it is very rare, like unicorn, to find a diva on the offensive line. I've known one. Well, maybe two in all my years. Maybe two. Maybe. Kind of. Sorry. I'm laughing because I'm going to send him this and tell him he was the kind of. But there's nothing about him that he's just easygoing, very comfortable. I can't tell you how many times last year walking in the locker room and he's sitting at his locker reading the playbook or looking at information. Um, he does not strike me as a book nerd per se, but he strikes me as a football nerd, which is a great compliment. Just, I love this game. Just want to play the game. And I mean, here the guy was winning all these accolades for playing out of his mind, and he just wanted to get better. He's a shut up, grab your lunch pail, blue collar, show up, work hard guy. Gonna go work in the weight room, gonna go watch film, gonna read the playbook, Gonna go out on the field, gonna go balls to the wall. That's just that kid. He's not as vocal as JPJ. That's what I mean. That's what I meant by the book nerd thing. He just he's quiet and but he does his job. Really good player. And Raiders really fortunate to have him. The next guy, again, now I could see a situation. Well, I'll go through and talk about that in a minute. So the next guy is Dylan Parham. Since he's got drafted, he's been a starter. He's also a center. A lot of people think he may be even a better center than a guard, but he started his entire career. Now they go and get, and let me just talk about him for a little bit. Mr. Reliable. Like Meredith, not the most talkative guy. He is with me because we have a really, really good relationship, and I genuinely um, really like him a lot. I can tell you last year, a lot of his teammates were not pleased with Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy kind of, in my opinion, threw him under the bus. Luke Getsy was asked about a play, and he mentioned a guard who made a mistake. And let me just tell you one thing in the National Football League is you take ownership and you don't throw people under the bus, even when they're wrong. And when Luke Getsy, who had been feeling the heat, threw Dylan under the bus, that's when I knew Getsy ain't making it to the end of the year. He ain't making it. I mean, he'd already ticked off a bunch of teammates with his disrespect or apparent. It was certainly apparent to me, my opinion, of Max Crosby. And when he did that to Dylan, it made a lot of people angry. A lot of people. In fact, I told you a story about me walking in the locker room, people asking me if he had said something about Max. Uh, Multiple asked me about the Dylan thing. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys a great story because it's Dylan Parham related. After he threw Dylan under the bus, you may remember I had been very vocal of Luke, very vocal in my criticism of him. But after that, I turned up the notch to the point it made some people in the building uncomfortable with me. Very uncomfortable. Very. Um, Not players and not coaches, but people who are not players or coaches, very uncomfortable with me. Because that's when uh, I had used the quote about one offensive coordinator, very successful offensive coordinator, asking, "Is Joe Philbin on the roster?" I mean, hello. And um, I just started writing about people questioning Luke. I had been critical of him, but I thought, okay, you're going to throw Dylan under the bus. That's fine. I'm just going to mention what other people think of your performance, and I turned the heat up, and it was appreciated by a lot in the building, not by all. And I'm not mad at those when I say not by all. One person in particular, and I'm not mad at that person at all. I understood why it was. So they were not inappropriate or jerks or anything like that. I just knew it made him mad. But you know what? He wants to throw Dylan under. If that's okay, great. If that's the standard, great. Let's keep the standard. Because here's what everyone thinks about the job that Luke was doing. Or not everyone, but a lot of people. Dylan is super solid. Now, him and Jordan are different kinds of players. They're different styles, both really good, different styles. So then the Raiders go and sign Alex Kappa, who is a guy that's had a lot of success. He's also had some struggles, but he's a very athletic guard. Now, I think it is a Parham Meredith Kappa battle for guard. That's the battle. And I have no earthly clue. Well, that's not 100% accurate. I would suspect going into OTAs and all of that, that it will be Kappa as one starter and then Parham and Meredith battling it out. That's what I would suspect. Now, the loser of Meredith Parham could be traded because, and I'll get to that in a minute, but there's a possibility there. That would not surprise me because both have very good value and the Raiders would get some trade value. I don't want to see that happen because you never want to give up a good offensive lineman. But but it could. I'm not saying it would. I'm saying it could, and I'll explain why in a minute. So then you bring in Alex Kappa, seasoned vet. Again, a lot more good under the saddle than bad. Athletic. They like him. There's a history there. They like Kappa. In the interest of full disclosure, I don't know him. I know people who do that like him, think he's a really good dude. Uh, Not dude like in a draft dude sense, just a good person that they really like his work ethic and thinks that he's going to offer some very unique skill set items that they think Chip's going to really like. So again, I wouldn't be shocked to see Meredith and Parham as a starter, Kappa the backup. I wouldn't be shocked to see Kappa Meredith, Kappa Parham. None of that would shock me. Those three are going to be going at it a lot. Now, the next guy I want to talk to you about is Caleb Rogers, the youngster, the rook. He's going to make the roster. Now, here's where you get into some position flexibility. The Raiders see him as an interior offensive lineman. That's what he is, but he plays tackle. So, does a guy like him on the roster allow you to keep five? Now, I think you would have kept five anyways. So, I'm not trying to act like there's any secret, but now you really have four tackles. And then if you keep a Meredith Parham Kappa, you got plenty of guards, and he's a guard. So if there's a plenty of injuries at tackle and you have to move them over, you're still okay. You got three guards. Just think about that one. Caleb Rogers brings a really unique skill set. He is a show up to work and let's go guy. He's got really interesting personality. Good kid. Good kid. Salt of the earth kid. And he's a scrapper now. Athletic scrapper fighter. He's got some JPJ in him. In fact, you want to know the funny truth? He's got a little bit of JPJ in him and a little bit of Dylan Parham. He's kind of a hybrid mixture of those two guys. Dylan Parham, JPJ is the nicest, happiest human you'll ever meet off the field and one of the meanest, nastiest on it. So he's such a dichotomy. Dylan Parham, nicest guy you ever met in the world. Very tough, but he'll knock you to the ground, smack you in the ground, give you the hand, and pull you up. Jackson Powers Johnson will knock you to the ground and laugh at you. But if he bumps into you at the grocery store, going to jump up, pick you up with two hands. Are you okay? I mean, just that. And so Caleb Rogers brings that toughness that you like on JPJ with kind of the just super nice, reserved kind of Dylan Parham. More talkative than Parham, but he's just kind of a hybrid between the two. I really like Rogers' upside. This was such a good pick. This was a great pick by the Raiders. Just, I think Caleb Rogers really has potential. And when you look at this, take Kappa, who's a seasoned vet, out. You look at JPJ, Jordan Meredith, Dylan Parham, and Caleb Rogers. You got four young, super talented interior offensive linemen. Kappa comes in, he's kind of the well, I guess Parham has started so much you can call him that too, but he's the grizzly vet, long in the tooth, leader type role. Caleb Rogers, don't sleep on this kid. He is the real deal. Now we'll talk about two other guys. Will Putnam is a guy I was really high on, the center out of Clemson. This kid, I think he's destined to another year on the practice squad. I'm going to get to him in a minute, but this kid can play in the NFL. I really believe in Putnam. I genuinely believe in Putnam. I like his ability. I like his skill set. I like the way he presents himself. I like the way Putnam just operates. Putnam just he's got some it to him. He belongs in the NFL. He can play. Now let's talk about the seventh. So if the Raiders keep six guys like they did last year, and I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to take five. I think Putnam has shot of making it, but I think he's going to spend one more year on practice squad. But I do believe in Putnam. The last guy I want to talk about is Jared Hufford. And I've talked to you about this kid before. He's a UDFA out of Iowa State, 6'4, 320. He's got the skill set. I mean, the minds. Excuse me. The God given size. He's a center. Okay, you got Jackson Powers Johnson. You got Dylan Parham. Okay, so if you keep another center, fine. If you keep six, if not, you got Putnam and Hufford battling. He's got to come in and show some nasty. He's got to come in and he's a UDFA. He's got the physical skills, the size. He's got some speed. He's got some athleticism. They like him. But he's going to have to come on now when you're a UDFA. And remember, you're a UDFA for a reason. You got to show them I belong on your practice squad or I belong on your roster. Can he come in early and show some flexibility that he can play guard and he can play center? Then all of a sudden, does he move ahead of Putnam? And then the Raiders keep six. Interesting stuff here. Putnam and Hufford are going to have some monster preseason battles. I think the Raiders are set at IOL, interior offensive line. I like this group. If it were me, I would keep five. JPJ, Jordan, Dylan, Alex, Caleb. I'd put Putnam and Hufford over on my practice. I really believe Putnam belongs in the NFL. Hufford, I think, deserves a shot. I haven't seen enough. I've talked to other people who have that think he's absolutely worth a shot, but he's got to prove it. I think Will showed enough last year, even though it wasn't like he was playing. I mean, stuff I saw in practice and talking to guys that felt he did. Hufford's got what he needed from God size-wise. I think he's got the mindset. Now he has to develop the skill set. But I think the Raiders, when we've been going through these groups talking about, hey, this one's really thin. I don't think this is a thin group. JPJ's already showed you what he can do. Jordan Meredith's already showed you what he can do. Dylan Parham's already showed you what he can do. Kappa's proven it. So if you keep five guys, 80% are already proven in the National Football League. I think this is a good group. I think this is a very solid group. I know the offensive line for the Raiders gets a ton of negativity. That is unfathomable to me. Unfathomable to me. I am a buyer on the Raiders' interior offensive lineman. 100%. And then you got these guys working with Joe freaking Philbin. I mean, you guys remember me when Philbin joined the staff last year. And then I'm like, why is he not? And then I had offensive, successful offensive coordinator and coaches and other executives in the NFL when the Raiders were struggling earlier. Why is Joe Philbin not taking over the offensive line? And when he did, whew, breath of fresh air. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't control injury. I got nothing on injury. It's not a Hondo issue. But I'll tell you what I do have is a knowledge of offensive line. Put on your underoos tonight when you go to bed and say an extra novena and thank God that the Raiders' interior offensive line's in really good shape. They're going to be fine. Got to stay healthy. It's a caveat with every position, but they're going to be fine. Again, they took 6 last year. I have a feeling they take 5 this year. That frees up another spot. Where will the Raiders use it if they go 5? Never know. See you again tomorrow with some more position backgrounds. Appreciate every one of you. You're tremendous and wonderful people. Have a great day. Let me get out of this. God bless you. Thanks for watching.